Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be, and I welcome you to the Nancy Ferrari Show, airing live on W4CY Radio and K4HD Radio, brought to you by Talk4 Media Network and iHeartRadio. I am Nancy Ferrari, your host, and have the pleasure of introducing you to my exceptional guests who share their expertise and life experiences, and together we share what's real, relevant, and relatable to you. It goes without saying, I am beyond over this full moon and back to introduce you to my guest today. Her book captivated me. And as many of my listeners know, I interview a lot of authors. There's gifts in each one. But as I just mentioned, the word relatable, wow. You know, I felt like I was, holding her hand while reading the book from cover to cover. And I know you will be equally as inspired as I was. So with me today is Dianne Bischoff James, who is also an actor, besides being an author and an entrepreneur, and who she calls herself a life reboot specialist, which I love, who helps others recognize and connect with their own personal power and potential. She's a dynamic motivational speaker, charismatic broadcast personality, acclaimed performer, and voiceover artist who encourages audiences to create a reality that is prosperous, deliberate, and meaningful. Dianne has an MS in marketing from Northwestern University, a BA in psychology, and has won 4 international Marcom awards. Dianne is the founder of an award-winning brand consultancy called Core Marketing Solutions, as well as the founder of Live Your Everything, where she refers to herself as a life reinventionist. In addition to all that she does, she's also a Screen Actors Guild actor and author of the best-selling book, The Real Brass Ring, Change Your Life Course Now, which she'll be sharing with you today, along with so many of her life experiences. And there again with Live Your Everything. I just love it. I spent some time in there this morning and can't emphasize enough for you listeners to go visit that as well. So needless to say, we have so much to talk about, and I warmly, and I emphasize warmly, welcome Dianne Bischoff James to my show. Good afternoon to you out there in the Windy City.
Oh, thank you so much, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here, and slightly envious of your temperature currently. But it had to come sometime. So the big freeze is here, but I'm inside, warm and toasty, so it's good.
Well, good. I'm glad we're not recording outdoors. Shivering. I mean, I had a slight snippet of that, and I just could not resist. For you listeners out there, typically I spend time with my guests maybe the week before, but with the holidays, it just didn't happen. But I feel like I know this woman. I know. And when I saw her standing there in the snow that I'm familiar with as my childhood, and then here I'm guiltily saying it's going to be 80 degrees here in Southern California. I'm going on the next plane. I don't know that you'll be able to fly out of there, so I'm sending you lots of warm energy.
Thank you.
Have a warm heart. And your book, truly, there again, I feel like I'm almost in this state of joyful euphoria as I, finish your book. I've been in your website. However, you're very candid in what you share within the Real Brass Ring, and I would love for you, because this is your story, for you to share a little bit more about you. And you do start kind of from the beginning. And the way I would want to say is it all started with a reading. And I do that sort of work. So it's kind of like, whoa. Yes, if you would be so kind to share more about you. And then, because I know the story from your book, share it in the way that you would, love my listeners to hear about it, because I do want to encourage them to purchase the book, where you've got lots of golden nuggets in there.
Hey, Nancy, we just dropped that call.
Oh no! Oh no!
We'll get her back.
Maybe the telephone lines froze out there in Chicago. Well, I can go on while she's calling back in. And this is why, people ask me, why do you take so much time with your guests and read their book? This is what creates the what I call the richness of a conversation. And I'm really hoping she's going to call back in, because I've been looking forward to having her on here. She's so multifaceted, and this is what happens to us in life as we're soaring. I shared with you that she actually graduated magna cum laude. She's very intelligent. She was playing by the rules, as many of us do, and it looks like she's stepping in right in time.
That's never happened before.
I made up a whole new story for you.
Well,
no.
Let me know where I'm at.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure where we dropped off, but I was about to get a reading with Sonia.
Another one?
And what happened is that I thought she was going to tell me everything was great. I had this mini mansion across from the lake. I had a business I'd been working on. I was professionally pursuing the American dream. I'm I'm going to do this thing. So I had all the stuff, the car and the cute bag and all the cute shoes. And I sat down with this woman, and she completely just piled up every single deep, dark, horrible secret that I had been keeping, not only from the world, but from myself, and she knocked it across the room. She told me I'm this unlit Christmas tree. Nothing about my life is my own. She said, I'm living the prescription of my parents. My parents told me to do X, Y, and Z, and I was just this little soldier marching down the street. And she said, you're supposed to be an author, a teacher, a healer, and an actor. And she said, you could be an actor. And I can't say that to many people. And then she pretty much said, if you don't hurry up, Dianne, and grab at the real brass ring, she said, I am going to tell you it's going to be too late. And I sat there, and I was just clutching her chair. I thought I was going to just fall over. This woman was kind of vomiting all over me on all these things that were wrong. And I'm like, too late for what? I mean, what does that mean? And she goes, you're going to have to come back and do it all over again. And then she kind of marched out of the room. And I was in total shock. I, kind of slid to my car because it was another horrible day in Chicago, and sat there and cried to the point where I bled through my gloves. My red gloves were bleeding all over my face because I was crying and holding myself together, trying to go to another business meeting. And so she basically said, you don't have to just reboot, just get another job or maybe start a new relationship or whatever. She said, your entire life is a sham. And then she called me out on a couple things, and she's like, and I'm going to tell you something. She goes, you're clinically and chronically depressed. And I hadn't told anybody this at the time, but I had been popping Prozac every day because I really couldn't get out of bed. So clearly she was right. And she was too kind to say, to really bring up the fact that I was the size of a sumo wrestler. And I was like 190 pounds, and I was huge. And she didn't say that you're incredibly overweight and very unhealthy and your body's breaking down, but that was also clearly the case. So I went to see her, and I was in complete and utter overwhelm. I left there. I didn't know what to do. How do you totally start over? I mean, I was 40. How did I get everything wrong? So that's kind of how the whole thing started.
I mean, yes, that's what I just couldn't flip the pages fast enough that, I've been in similar situations. I don't think I've received quite a strong message such as that, and especially because you were successful, but there again, and as you uncover in the book, when you start breaking it down. But from there, I love how you went into your chapter of what you call stinking thinking. I've heard that term before, and I'm going, oh, it's in a book now. That's great.
Well, I was trained in disaster talk, actually. I think, just coming up parents of, post-depression, it was always about what was going to go wrong. It was never about what was going to go right. And even going out, like, oh, be safe or have a safe flight. And I could never figure out, like, is something going to happen on my plane? Why do I have to be safe? And the whole, of course, eat all your food. We've all heard that, growing up. And I could never figure out, like, if I don't eat it, could I send it somewhere? Will it get there? So someone could. I couldn't understand why everything was always about the negative or the dark side of things. But I had learned it, and I learned it well. In fact, I think most of my thoughts, probably 95% of my thoughts, were about the bad stuff that was going to happen out there, not about what I wanted or what would be happy or what would resonate with any positivity at all. So that took me a long time. I actually had to, like, put a little rubber band on my wrist, and I literally started snapping it so I would really be aware of how many dark thoughts I had, and I bruised myself. I mean, it was bad.
Do you have a wrist left?
Yeah. And then finally I got it. I got tired of getting hurt, so I finally stopped doing it.
Oh, no. No, we've lost her again. Yes, I have to say that weather's probably a factor, but I know she's going to come back. Yes, and I'm going to interject here about that, is that we don't realize, and Dianne and I do come from the same generational background of, cleaning off your plate, be safe. And I ask those questions too. It's like, okay, am I going to be unsafe in an airplane or unsafe driving on the freeway? And all those things over the course of time, they start to build up where you're really not feeling safe. And so then you just start operating on that autopilot that, we've been told. And there's no blaming here. I really feel that they came from a generation that they were told gloom and doom, experiencing world wars, and it just is. So it is now time for Dianne to continue.
Goodness gracious!
Gosh, Chicago's not being very kind to you with your
no, I think they can't land the planes either.
I guess so. Well, let's see. But what was you'll listen to the playback, and where I interjected is that both of us have parents from the same generation, and that in the long run, what I have learned and what you shared too is that this is what they knew. And I used to question that too. Like, am I going to be unsafe? Even I say drive, be safe, or all the little things that we're told, but they manage to get stuck in our cellular structure and deep in the recesses of our brain. That as we start evolving into adolescence, that's how we operate. Until you get a reading like you did, or I had my moment of, okay, who am I and what am I here to do in life? So and
you can even I've kind of really been able to pull it back to what Piaget, his stages of development, from pretty much the beginning, but really from 7 to 11, we are in a different state of operations. We are in concrete operations, so whatever's coming in sticks. We don't have that filter. We don't have the rational process or his next stage of development where you can actually do formal operations where if you say X to me, I can kind of transform that or mute that. It doesn't come in as fact. So most of the programming starts very early, and it's nobody's fault. It's just the way it is. And so we don't have the ability to filter it out. And it's not until you get older that you actually can take a look at what you want to make yours and what you would prefer to not be yours any longer.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. However, there is, these are daunting tasks that we take on when we decide that either if you've been told or that life just is not operating in the way that it was designed to. There again, I just love these titles you have because I talk often about course correction, and that I'm still referring to it when I'm viewing what's going on in the world or the economy 7 years ago. I knew it. We need course correction. So that's where that this was a profound time in your life with the Hoffman Institute.
Oh, it was. I was able to change the thoughts, but I had so much in the baggage cart. I had, talk about, flying out. I mean, I had like 20 steamer trunks full of just kind of internal darkness. I don't think I had anything that resembled self-love, self-appreciation. I had done the things that they told me to do, but the messages were really stuck inside of, everything about lack of self-worth, lack of means, lack of everything. No matter how much money I made, I never felt like I had enough. I was always terrified. So Hoffman Institute, and just kind of up the street from you in Northern California, they for 7 days, they pretty much, it's rehab. It's emotional rehab where you go and there's no TV, there is no cell phone, there's none of these landlines that we have here. There's nothing that you can attach yourself to at all. It's about you and your authenticity in your heart. And so you just go through this process, pretty much like any kind of rehab where you kind of have to reboot, talk about rebooting. They tear you down to your knees, build you back up. And I came back this new spanking baby girl, I was happy. I didn't have the depression. Honestly, Nancy, the depression was gone. I think it was so programmed from my messages that I didn't have, I totally stopped taking any medication. 30 pounds fell off because food wasn't love anymore. I found I was, hey, guess what? You know what? We're all good people trying to do good things. And I gave myself a little bit of credit, moved into gratitude, did all those things you're supposed to do. And then I wrote these 14 rules for, I call them, shortcuts for happy living. And for me, that's how I changed my life. Those rules, which are in the book, I started to actually live by. And I think that is what has been the biggest part of the transformation, where because I'm a business exec, everybody says to me, bottom line it, give me the executive summary. So I wanted to say, okay, of the 50,000 books that I've read, what are the key messages that work? I continue to read them. Honestly, I have 10 books next to my bed still every night. I love to read and I love to absorb more information, but I wanted to kind of cut to the chase. So I put together these 14 rules and I started to actually use them every day. And they're some of them are simple, some of them are harder to get. But I think that they've changed my life, and I use them with all my private clients, and it changes everybody's life because it moves you towards authenticity, towards loving what you do, towards, finding the clarity. And as I say, get clear, get going, and then get happy. Those are the 3 steps that really have helped me the most.
Yes, clarity definitely is where so many of us, I know for me especially, and once those windshield wipers have cleaned them all off, you just start seeing things as they are and how they should be. I don't know if they talked about it at Hoffman Institute or not. Maybe this is my own made up little thing, but I go back. In my mind, I take myself back to conception, before I even came into this world. What was the grand design? What was I intended to do here? And then all of a sudden I've got, chapters like in your book that, okay, I'll take the positives and then leave those negatives, and purge them out but there's so many in there again. I appreciate what you shared as well, because I had quite a few books. There's favorite parts in so many of them, and that's what's so important. And also connecting with people who will support you on this, in this newfound way of being. I know, and that's probably what inspired you to start Live Your Everything.
Oh, it did. And one of the simple rules is about managing your wave. We're beings of light. And everything has a wave pattern. Everything's moving. Nothing is straight, and nothing is following a particular straight line. So, in watching your own waves, the one thing that I noticed is that there's these ambient destructive wave patterns, which will take your wave and flatten it, or they're the ones that boost it. So not only was I able to look at the wave and say, okay, in every situation there's a thought that will make you feel better. It could be kind of a crazy thought sometimes, and sometimes mine are, like, oh, I have to do this proposal, but after that I get to watch Nashville, or, that one thing, that little hook that's like, okay, well, if I just sit down and do my work right now, I can go have some playtime. And so those are the things that I always try to reach for, that positive side. But as you mentioned, I really now am looking for the people who can amplify my wave. Because, as we know, some partnerships or just even some friendships, they can either flatten it or they can put you below the line, which is the draining kind of aspect of it. So I'm really aware of this whole wave pattern now, not only in my relationships, but in my life and in thoughts and thought patterns. And so it's been kind of a new way of looking at things. So you don't have to really take it personally. You can just look at how your wave's moving. And when you love something, you can see it. I can see it. When someone talks about what they love, their eyes get all big and their pupils expand and they start to smile spontaneously. And you're like, okay, you love that. I can see it. That's what you need to be spending your time doing. And so that was one of the big focuses when we do workshops and do the expos. A lot of people come and they'll be speaking, and you can just see we're all transparent, and you can see when they're talking about something that gets them juiced up, they go to that like high place, and the light starts beaming, and you're like, that's it. That's what you need to write down. That's what you need to spend time on. How about 5 minutes a week? How about 15 minutes a week, just doing that one thing that you loved? Painting, drawing, playing the piano. I don't care what it is. And that has changed my entire life, spending more time doing what I call the I love it inventory. Really, I sat down and focused on the things I love to do. And not that you can do it all day, because, we also have to function, but to know that a couple times a week I get to do something that gets me completely jazzed. And that's changed everything.
I love what you shared, how you as a young girl, you just wouldn't have thought that you would have the opportunity to act, to sing, to dance, to do all those things. And you did. And you've been quite successful with it, mind you.
Well,
and this is what really inspires me. It's like, I put that out there. Like, I can't sing. I can talk all I want, but that wasn't a gift from God. But there again, I appreciating the gifts and then going for it, and that the opportunity is there. It's just, release the brake
It has always
valve.
been on the inventory. I've loved it since, grade school. I was like, God, of course, the high school lead. Oh my goodness, where did that take me? But I was a high school superstar in acting. And then, my dad delivered the message. That's a terrible career. You're not going into it. I won't pay for it. I won't afford it. Won't support you. And I just shut it down. And so going back into acting was really because Sonia had said, you're going to be okay at this. You're going to be good at this. I mean, you're going to be able to make a name for yourself. To what level didn't matter. It was just that it was so much fun to actually feel the lights. It was so much fun to get on the stage. It was so much fun to have someone say, okay, I want you to, do the can. It was to me, it was just complete expression. So it didn't really matter. I wasn't really doing it for, okay, and then tomorrow you got to have an Oscar. It was just, how can I do this so it's completely enjoyable? And that's what really brought the weight off, because I was so much in love with what I was doing. Like 50 pounds just kind of fell off because I wasn't worried about, again, I wasn't going after Twinkies and ho-hos and ding-dongs trying to, feel good. I was feeling good by what I was just enjoying. And so that changed a big part of it. And it was also really fun, too, because if you're in this field, I mean, my dad wasn't totally wrong. If you're going to be in the acting field, you're going to do it because you love it. You absolutely love it. Because, it's 40 years old breaking in saying, hey, I want to be an actor. Not super easy, but I was very, very fortunate. And I think just because I enjoyed it so much, my little light was on. And that's what kind of brings in the next opportunity. So I've been incredibly fortunate, but it's a blast, and I've had to do crazy things. I've been in a wheelchair pushed across a field in the middle, like at midnight, and the person pushing me fell or something, and my wheelchair flips over, and I'm laying upside down, kind of like on my neck, going, is this what I wanted to do? Is this really what I wanted to be doing? So you get to challenge yourself, too. It's like, okay, that was that wasn't so fun. But, you know, the scene went great, and there was this big crash in the middle of it. And anyway, so, I mean, you know, there's...
I have to ask, what movie? Was it a movie, a TV show?
It was a movie. It was a movie, and I was some crazy murderer and was going to plan to murder my daughter, and someone was trying to get me out of the house, but I wasn't really whatever. So it was just really funny because, of course, it's shot like at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm wearing a nightgown, and it was like 40 degrees out. And I'm thinking, okay, this is not what you'd think. You know, all that stuff in the movies, it's a little harder than it looks. You have to be very uncomfortable a lot. It's not usually the season that they pretend it is.
So I have heard. I've had the pleasure of interviewing about 3 filmmakers, the last of which was a female director, and they filmed in the desert. And you're dealing with the elements, and especially, you know, I'm talking about how warm it is. Well, you know, I'm not loving the Santa Ana winds and all my furniture tossed about either. But yeah, California is what it is there. But definitely have a new appreciation for what goes on behind the scenes. And I've talked to screenwriters and editors and this and that, and it's just, I'm going to be watching the Academy Awards with a whole new set of eyes. Yeah, they're so exuberant, especially the ones that get like, you have no idea. And it's not just about the best picture and the best actor and actress, but it's the whole totality of it. But what that had to have given you even a different perspective of life, getting to play other characters and feeling what that feels like.
It's so much fun. It is so much fun. But I think the thing I like the most about it is that you have to be totally raw. And it's so easy to put the mask back on. You know, in business, you're supposed to act a certain way. And, where we live, it's kind of the high-end neighborhood, and you're supposed to do certain things. And you have to, you're supposed to be running your kids around 24/7. And, and I'm kind of like the misfit. I'm the person who would rather be raw and real, funny if I can be, I'm not a great singer, but I went to someone who helped me at least become an okay singer, and I'm okay. Somebody said belt out a tune, I would. I mean, I was pretty embarrassed when I first got started because my singing's pretty bad, but I would rather be raw and real. And so I think that's the part that's fun about acting. You have to go to these places in your head, and oftentimes, like, even when my kids see some of the clips, they'll be like, "Mother, don't put that up." I'm like, "You guys, it's pretend. You do know this is pretend, right?" Whatever I'm doing, it's probably, some of the things are slightly, not totally inappropriate, but like I'm yelling at somebody or knocking somebody down or slapping somebody. I'm like, "You guys, it's pretend. Don't just get over it."
Yes, that's kind of interesting. It reminds me of I saw an interview with Angelina Jolie after she filmed Maleficent, and I just watched it. We got to visit our grandchildren, 5-year-old and 18-month-old, and it was, out of all Angelina and Brad's children, only one of her daughters would play a small role in it because she did not look like mom. They were like, "You're too scary. This is just but yeah, there you go. The capacity that we have, that this daughter of hers, that she knew that, mom's in there. It's just makeup and this and that, but others, it's just a little bit too much. So that's the interesting thing about humanity and how we are designed. But yes, you definitely have and you still are leading a very fascinating life. But there again, I wanted to go back to what you were saying, because there's so much truth to it, is, living the illusion. I'd rather be raw. I'm going to be Oprah now. That's a tweetable. I'd rather be raw and, I think you said real, or real. Another, yes, than pretending everything is okay. Because
right. And I think that was the source. That was the source of all the pain, the source of the weight. the source of, wanting to pop pills to make me feel better. I do believe that was the linchpin right there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and doing the work, and that's what now you have transformed what you have experienced into helping others, which I always think is
and also part of it
thing.
is just getting in touch with the emotional radar detector. I mean, that's one of the things, just adding on to that, is that it took me a couple years, actually, to recognize that those feelings that you have, those little, I call them crunchy, but there's like little feelings that get like twisted in your gut, or mine's like right at my rib cage, and it kind of twists up, and I get that feeling like, I don't want to do this. And it could be something really simple. Like, I think they have 15 different drives at our school over holiday. Like, are you going to buy poinsettias? Are you going to bring in 20 different types of cans of food? Are you going to do this? Are you going to volunteer for that? Did you bring in a coat for some? And I love to contribute, and I love to give. And that would be something I would do because I want to. But because it gets to be so much, did you buy your gift wrap paper? Did you buy candy? Did you buy the flowers? And enough, it's too much. It's too much. And I don't have a place to put the poinsettias, and they're just going to die. I'm going to accidentally kill them. So, I just I'll say, no, that doesn't work for me. And that became kind of my mantra, in that I became really honest when I was willing to do something. Like, yes means yes, and no means no. But this no means no. And it's okay to say it doesn't work for me. I don't know where we became so compliant, and that we feel like we have to say yes to please everybody outside your circle all the time. And it is such a healthy way to live if everyone can express themselves from their truth in the moment, the micro-truthing. And it took years. It took me years to practice, because I think I was so afraid that there would not be acceptance, or that people would reject me, or people would run away, and as I cite, there's a couple of examples in the book where you can express your truth, but you don't get to control the outcome.
Because we can't really control anything anyway, right?
We can't control anything anyway, but you can't then go around expressing your truth and say, and everyone's going to love it.
No.
They might not.
I think I was jotting notes while I was reading, but where are you? Can't find it, but it's just basically acceptance, accepting what is, and this is me, and that's how I have found, and I know so many of my friends and people that I've met who have gone through this to really get to who they are, that all of a sudden you're not that same person anymore, and there's that codependency wheel going on there, and it with families, that's where, and before the holidays I was designing a program just to give a few tips and techniques about, okay, we're going through our lives from like January to like Thanksgiving, and then all of a sudden now we're going to go back into that role, and or not that we want to, but it just seems to happen, and how you can avoid or not avoid, because there's no avoidance, but how you can manage through them with ease and grace while loving yourself. And that takes practice.
It does. And it's so key. I think one of the to me, what I've found is, especially the holiday, it brings up the issue of self-expression, kind of what we were talking about a little bit. For some reason, that is the heightened time when, I don't know, the adult child comes out, and, if somebody says something that was maybe particularly not nice, or something that maybe kind of stung a little bit, wouldn't it be nice if we can say, wow, that kind of hurt, or what do you mean by that? Or could you clarify, just those extra questions, or something in a really healthy way, totally healthy, where we could feel self-expressed. And I think, I had a very stressful holiday, only in that I had to do both, the two events were almost 30 days from each other. I had to do full sit-down meals 2 times in a row. And I'll be really honest, I was mad as a hatter because I had no one to give the second meal to. Like, can somebody else do the second holiday, please? And my mom's been sick, and my dad's been sick, and, you know, my brother's a little place. And so everyone had a reason why they couldn't. But I was hopping mad. And so I got clear with myself. I actually gave myself a timeout.
It's
I drove
now.
to the lake. I drove to the lake. It was Christmas Eve. Yes, this is true confessions here. Drove to the lake at 10 o'clock at night, and I sat there, and it was freezing, but I sat out there, and for like 30 minutes, I had like 70 coats on. And I'm sitting there, and I said, okay, this is not the way you want to have a holiday. And I was just letting messages come and just kind of being present. Wait, are you still there?
Yes, so I'm listening.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Sorry.
I just want to make sure with my technology here. But I got this beautiful message that came across. You can transform this event. This isn't what you're trying to create. And I just came across me like, you're right. Mom walking around huffing and puffing and screaming at people is not what I want to create. This is a beautiful holiday. I love this holiday. How can I get out of being a Grinch and have, you know, trying to take all the stuff from the Who's at home? And how do I be this great person? And so I'm like, okay, so I came back. I had a conversation with my kids. I said, I'm sorry, Mom is crabby. I didn't want to do the second holiday. I agreed to do something I didn't want to do. So you know what? I'm going to apologize to all of you if I sound crabby at all. And I'm just going to acknowledge my frustration and put my arms around it because I can be frustrated about it. But then we're going to move on. And everybody, like, we all snapped out. Everybody snapped out of it in 1 second. And it was because I was able to kind of like come clean, take a time out, go away, and come back and go, you know, I can create anything I want. It doesn't have to be this way. It can be something completely different. And therefore, we had a great day. So anyway,
yes,
I had to pull some tricks on myself recently.
But that's so important. Such, you know, there again, golden nuggets is it's okay to take pause. It's okay to do a timeout. We need to collect ourselves when you're feeling you're like a, you know, rag doll scattered all about, and get collected and centered with yourself. And I totally get what you just shared. And then all of a sudden, things, you know, just sort of start to, you know, operate a little bit better. And, you know.
And naming and claiming was part of it. My daughter, when I walked in the door, she goes, I get it. You feel like a doormat. And I looked at her and I pointed at her. I put the other finger on my nose. I'm like, that's it. Yeah. That's why I'm so revved up. And she goes, I'm sorry you feel like a doormat. And I'm like, thank you for saying that. And it was like, that was it. It took, you know how sometimes you're just naming and claiming it?
Yes.
To release all the energy off of it. Mm-hmm. It was great.
Absolutely.
It was beautiful.
How old is she, by the way?
Well, she's well trained. She's well trained over here. We name and claim everything. She's 21, and she nailed it. And then everybody started saying it, and we turned it into a joke, and then it was over.
That is so great, and also to bring it into a family with humor. I mean, these are just classic examples of what just that goes on within, you know, a family dynamic, and either being on the back burner, and that's where I you know, used to say feel, but you know, there again, I wasn't in that space to share it. You know, I just, you know, grin and bear it, do it, it's done. Okay, another holiday done. And I'm not saying that every holiday was, you know, crazy, but it's allowing, especially for women, allowing yourself to enjoy your holiday, and that others can step in. And so I have a feeling your holiday this year, since we're in 2015, is going to be a little bit different.
It will. It will. I'm going to speak my piece. Mm-hmm. And we've all agreed to divvy it up. And if we can't divvy it up, I've also threatened a trip to Cabo.
I've heard of families that do that, and I used to wonder, gosh, or they would just go. This is way back when my kids were young, but their family, just the four of them, would go skiing on Christmas. I go, wow, how could you do that? You know, leave your family. They said, this is the best gift we can give ourselves. I'm like, oh. Now I know they've really had it going on, but she goes, yeah, then we'd get together after the holidays when all the anxiety and hoopla and depression and exhaustion, everything that goes with it. But it doesn't have to be that way. So but I definitely
But that ties into tending to yourself. I mean, that's one of the shortcuts. Since most women, as I totally agree, are very other-centric and taking care of other people a lot, we forget to tend to ourselves. And if sitting on the beach, with a nice book and watching people play in the surf is going to give you the joy, then I say, why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So those are things too.
Yeah, and then I think just sharing how you're feeling, and what I've grown to respect is actually observing younger women, and they're being more communicative about it. This is something I don't want to do, and that either their spouse or another family member or whatever, they'll do it. And there again, communication is key. Mm-hmm. They won't know if you keep doing it, right? And I certainly learned those lessons as well. So it's just a matter of there again, it's the wave. Your wave is managing my wave, and then we get dolphins and whales to play, which we have a lot of actually right now going on. Anyone who's coming out here, we've got this unusual mass of them coming, migrating south, very close to shore, which is neat. But those are the things. Just take time, and I hear this from healers a lot, is go to water. Be near some water. Yours might be frozen, but it's water. Your lake there in Chicago. But yeah, you'll find your happy place. So I'm looking at the clock. I could sit here and talk to you all day.
I know. I know. It's so wonderful to share this with you because I feel like we're right on the same. We have such parallel paths as so many people do, where they're trying to feel good. If feeling good is a mecca and joy is your birthright, and so many people that I've had the chance to encounter over this past year of touring are so ready to come clean with that, and they're so ready to say, I don't want to be the soldier. I don't, the whole great equalizer of that wonderful recession we had where everybody was kind of driven to their knees and had to change jobs or lose jobs or move or get rid of their possessions or sell their jewelry or whatever they had to do. I mean, that shook us up. And I think people are ready to come into their joy and to look at and explore, like, what will make me happy. So I think this book has been really helpful for anyone who's standing in their middle years and they say, is this where I am? Is this all I have? Is this what this relationship is supposed to feel like? I didn't think it would be anything like this. And so many of it. So it's not really the midlife. I think it's a turn on the midlife crisis. It's like, it's going to be a little more like midlife joy and midlife enthusiasm and midlife rebooting is totally about living the life you love. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And seriously, every day is a gift. And I had this conversation just recently about, and it kind of fell on my sharing Jean Houston, who I watched again on Oprah, and I had the pleasure of meeting her and interviewing her as well too. And Oprah was fascinated that she's still doing this work at the age of 77. And she goes, how do you feel about? I don't know how Oprah said it. It kind of surprised me. And she goes, I don't think about it. I'm so busy with being in the joy of living that the number just doesn't really even affect me, or I don't give it any energy. And I just thought, well, no wonder you look so darn good at your age, And she was saying it's a half Sicilian, blah, blah, blah. But powerful messages there. And that everything is a chapter, just like your book. Everything that we experience adds to that chapter in our life. So embrace it. And, there's infinite possibilities. That's what I know for sure. So for my listening audience, let me see if I've got this right. Yes, your website is www.liveyoureverything.com, correct?
That's right.
And it's a marvelous website. I love you've got you interviewing someone else. I really enjoyed that. And I knew this would be, you have a beautiful voice too. You project well, but it's because you're an actor. Is it proper to say actress or actor? I get confused with that. What's politically correct?
I go for actor. I go for actor just to be the whole, flight attendant thing,
Oh, you don't want to be a stewardess?
One title for all.
I think they should. Who split those up? Oh, that could be a whole nother topic.
Yeah,
the masculine
exactly.
and feminine. But yes, I do invite my listeners to visit your website. They can purchase your book from there, and highly recommended. I mean, there again, it's you hit some deep, dark core topics, but then there's, I found myself giggling in some parts, and there's joy mixed in there as well. So, 2 thumbs up.
Thank you so
And
much.
it truly has been such a delight. And I'm so happy that you were able to call back in. Although I was going to speak on your behalf, I would take on the role of being Dianne, if I hope I said it right. Bischoff.
Well, you are gifted. You are truly gifted and skilled. So thank you for covering for technology. I appreciate it.
It goes with the territory. And just so you know, I am truly doing what I love. And when people ask me, what is it? Because I do a lot of things and I love all of them. But when my sound engineer, who's right behind all of this, Chad Murphy, says we're going, the world stops. I'm so immersed in all of this, and that is my wish for everyone, that they find what it is that lights them up, as you said. And so, your coaching, your services, your book, you help so many people, and I can't emphasize that enough, how important that is. That if you're feeling a little bit stuck, or a lot of stuck, or whatever, take the time, invest in yourself. So thank you again, Dianne. I look forward to connecting with you again, and much success to you as you continue on sharing your book and your messages. It's so needed in the world.
Thank you so much, Nancy. This has been so much fun, and I really love everything that you're doing, and you are such a delight. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. And for my listeners, thank you once again for joining us today. And I will be back next Monday, where we will always connect, evolve, and discover all that is possible. Make it a glorious day.